What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about 3 Grayscale trusts today: File G, BCHG, and LTCN at the request of The Determined, Pika, and Draxer, or Dr. Axer. D-Raxer, I don't know, bro, but all of those are actually cool. Dr. Axer is cool. Draxer is cool. D-Raxer, Drakester, those are all great names. So anyways, File G, BCHG, LTCN. Hit the like button, subscribe, guys. Let's get into this. The Determined, you requested this, and you requested we talk about Filecoin. We absolutely will. There's no way that I can talk about something that's got this low of liquidity without going over the underlying assets. So that's given. What a dump, right? What an absolute dump. Down 7% this week for how big of a dump it could have been. Recovering a little bit, right? And I think that's because the underlying asset itself probably hasn't gone down as much, right? Filecoin's one of the more tame, kind of boring coins, right? This month down 16%, woohoo! But this week only down not even 1% so far. So, yeah, dropping too much on File G. Low liquidity, it's easy to do, right? But these things can't really divert from their underlying assets for too long, right? For too much. It's definitely at a low point. I would expect that you do see some kind of a snap back, like 100% growth from here or more soon enough. I mean, hell, man, you literally dropped from a price of 113 down to a price as low as 24. Is that what it was? 25 bucks. In the course of 2 weeks, you dropped 78%. So I'm assuming you could at least do double that to the upside. When I say double that, I mean percentage-wise. It wouldn't be double that, but like 78%, you know, doubled would be like 140-something% right here. You could do that, right? You could absolutely move back up to these areas. From a high to a low, is this a low? I'm sure is the question on your mind, right? And I don't know. I don't feel comfortable enough saying that it is. I'm definitely not worried about it if it isn't. File G has a pretty high premium on Filecoin. A lot of volume on that drop there. I'm wondering if it's because of the PP sales. Did they do File G, Filecoin for the PP sales? I don't think they did. But maybe they did. I don't know. You guys would know better. You Grayscale people would know better. Let me know in the comments, because if they did, maybe that's something to do with it. That would make sense. But if not, just standard offloading, I guess. I don't know what the reason would be. Craziness with the rest of the markets, right? It's just a small fish in a bigger pond. Hit its 1618 extension from this low to high. Nice move back up above your 1272, but you closed below it. It would be nice to see this thing getting above $54.45. If we want to start believing that this is the low. Okay. Close above $54.45. That's nice. 54.45. Same front to back, right? Close above there on any given day, and I would be happy to say, yeah, that's probably your low. And that's not that big of a help, right? Because from the current price to that target, that's about a 64% difference. But this thing is such low liquidity that can happen in a day. It can happen in, you know, the course of time, like less than a week from now. It's hard to say what it will do. It's such a choppy chart. Looking at Filecoin, it's at the low points of its accumulation range, having a very positive reaction this week. I would assume it does continue to move up higher, and over the weeks, it probably moves its way back to $7 to $10.42, something like that. So if Filecoin itself is projected over the weeks and months, you know, probably before October, maybe even before September, to be up 100%, 200%, I would think Filecoin would be up dramatically more, or File G would be up dramatically more. So I don't think Filecoin itself is going lower, which would make me hard-pressed to believe that File G could move lower. It could move lower because it's less liquidity, but it makes me hard-pressed to think that it does move lower. And in which case we'd be looking at higher targets, which would then imply this high to low. And your next target area would be 71.75 to 137.63. You break above 288, it's on to new all-time highs, but I don't know if you'll see that, right? You've got extreme premiums right now. But yeah, I think you found your low. Will you see a new high? That remains to be seen, right? But let's just see what you do with this. First off, 71.75 area. Let's see what you do with that. Okay. we'll talk about this again when you're above here, okay, or at least interacting with that. I think then we should talk about it, but that's file G. BCHG. And I meant to say this when I opened up the video, but we'll just say it now, you guys. I hope everybody in the Grayscale Trust is okay. I hope I've had a couple comments, and I don't know if they're jokes. If they're jokes, they're funny, but if they're not jokes, it's really sad. And I mean that. I'm not like trying to poke fun at anybody. It's really sad because I've had some people say that they got out, that they sold everything. There's one person in particular, they said that, and I was like, is this a joke? Like, I literally said that on the comment because I'm hoping nobody got out, and I know there are, right? Every single buy is a sell, right? And you only get these transactions, you only get these readings whenever buys and sells are taking place. Somebody sold down here, somebody bought down here. Not a lot of volume, relatively speaking, but for all the Grayscale people out there, if you're giving up on this stuff, if you're thinking that it looks bad, relatively speaking, yeah, it looks really bad. It absolutely does. But you zoom out, it's still in a nice uptrend, right? It's still got this trend going forward. It's still a higher low, right? Still in this form of consolidation, right? Nothing is broken yet. And you're still in the midst of a crypto bull cycle, right? You're down 19.17% BCHG this week, where BCH itself is only down 2%. You're diverting from the asset, and it does this on the way up just as it does on the way down, but it's not anything crazy. It's crazy compared to normal stocks, but it's nothing crazy compared to crypto, right? This is just normal. It happens. As insane as it is from the end of March or the beginning of May. What is this? Beginning of April, sorry. I thought that was March. March, April, oh yeah, it goes to March, April, May. Not May, April. April, beginning of April to the beginning of August, you've dropped 77.79% on BCHG. That's a very crazy drop, but you also dropped basically right at this previous area of resistance, previous areas of support back here and back here, right? Kind of at the top of this overall like cup of a consolidation phase. I don't know what to call that, right? But it's definitely a nice cup, and you're finding support right there. It's not a bad look, in my opinion. Definitely not ideal for anybody that bought up here. Anybody that bought any of these highs, anybody that bought the recent highs, this can feel like a storm of emotions, but calm those emotions, right? See past the storm, because there's more to go. There's more to go to the upside. Not to the downside, but to the upside. And you won't get there if you're selling out now. If you're selling the lows and you're buying the highs, you're not going to get there. From a low point to a high point, you didn't even reach your 382, which is actually a bullish thing, not a bearish thing, but it is much more common to reach your 382. So you could go lower and still be fine. You could go lower and still be fine. I don't think you will. I have a hard time seeing it, but you could. It is possible. So steel yourselves. Be prepared for that, right? It absolutely can happen. You're at your 40 area right now on the weekly. If you were to close this week a little bit higher or around here, and then next week have a green week, this would actually be a really prime area to bounce off your RSI, just as it was a prime area to find resistance when you were in the depths of your bear market, right? Prime area to find support now. Based on price action, also relatively prime area to find support. If we look at this thing on a daily, again, I would say very much in this consolidation zone. It looked like it broke out here, but maybe that was a fake out, and in which case you got the results of a fake out move, right? Here's your fake out to the upside, immediate rejection down, of course. Oversold right now on the daily. Kind of looks like a double bottom in its RSI, which is really, that's a powerful maneuver as well. Closing green tomorrow would be a very strong signal, I think. Well, first and foremost, let's just do this. Last time you were here, you found a relative area of support, moved up. Okay? So you can move up. That doesn't mean you're absolved of going lower, right? You could absolutely still do that. But a little bit of light in the tunnel is that you're probably done moving down, at least for the time being. For the time being. The last time that you did this kind of thing around this area was over here, and that was your low. You moved up, you moved down kind of around this area, but worked your way back up to form new highs, right? Time before that, down in this area, you tipped it right here, went lower, consolidated in this area, and then moved up higher, right? But this is bear market dynamics versus bull market dynamics. So I'm not going to go back and go through the bear market dynamics because it's a little bit different circumstances all around, so you might get different results. We don't have that many to go off of in the bull market, unfortunately, but that's the best I got, is that probably you are at or very near your low, and I do think that you're at your low, but again, don't be discouraged if you go lower. It actually would make complete perfect sense if you went lower because of this overall 382 from the low point here to the high point here. You don't have to go down to 455, but if you do, it's okay, right? Still, right there, even at this 382 area, previous areas of support, even cleaner, previous areas of resistance, right? Filling this gap a little bit more, it wouldn't be bad. It'd be a little bit more intense. It might be discouraging, right? But it might just be like, when is it going to end? But that's normally those moments whenever you're feeling that the most, that's when they hit 272 right down in that area as well. Hit your 1886, tipped right off it. Nice, man. That's a direct tip off your 1886, actually. Back above your 1272. I'd like to see you get above your 1272, but really the goal for BCHG right now is close above $8.23. I'd like to see you get above the 236 too, the overall 236. So even more so, I think getting above like 861. You're at 679 right now. Getting back above 861 is very crucial, very important, I think. You don't have to do that this week, but certainly what you don't want to see are daily closes below 596. Don't close below there. You can go down. You can go below there, but don't go closing days below 596. That's kind of your goals. I do think BCHG has found its low. I think it's getting ready right now for its next move up. And those targets have only changed for the better, technically. Your next minimum expectation would now be $35 to $60, right? Whereas prior to this, the targets were lower. They were a little bit lower, right? $32 to $47. Now they're at $36 to $60. And absolutely, you can go higher than that. Just referencing this again. Relative high here to this relative low, went up to your 1414 area, just shy of the 1618. Relative high here to the relative low there, 1618, but you really, this whole move didn't stop off until you're well above or near your 3618, but that 1618, you pierced it nonetheless. Taking the same kind of ideas into effect, high to low here, minimum target, right, from this high to low was just above the 1414, which is at $44. More commonly above the 1618 and potentially even greater prices than that. That 3618, relatively speaking, would be $1,220, and there are targets that line up with that area. If we go on a macro perspective, from the high to the low, right? You've got targets that line up with this. I don't know if you see that. Just because you have targets lining up with it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But your 100 level, very close to that 1618 level, which I would expect that you hit. Nevertheless, or nonetheless, you know, my kind of expectations is that you do on this next move up consolidate either right around the highs just below them or right around them, or you pierce above it and you consolidate up here as well, or maybe have some kind of blow off top, whatever. But your next move, it wouldn't surprise me if it does see new all-time highs still by the end of this year, guys. BCHG very well could be above $60. It could even be above like 161 or upwards to like 270 by the end of this year. Absolutely, it could happen, but time will tell. Right now, let's just focus on this area, right? For the next kind of the highs to come. It's at $679 right now, $36 price target at a minimum, $60 price target at a maximum. That's not bad returns in that short of an amount of time. This is the area that I would expect by the end of the year, is that $35.79 to $60.23 hits by the end of the year. So not by the end of the cycle, higher targets than that by the end of the cycle, but that's what I got for BCHG. Let's talk about LTCN and then move on or be done with this thing. LTCN for Jaxer. Fell off a cliff. Yes, it did. Whoever it was that was asking me if I thought that LTCN could go to $9, and I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen. And the next week it drops all the way down to 1052. They responded in my comments. If I had your name, I would give you a shout out, but I didn't write the name down. But yeah, they replied in the comments. They were saying, that $9 target was looking a lot more likely than previously, and it's like, yeah, it is. It could happen. LTCN could go to $9. It is possible. I don't think it will, but it could. Down or under 35 on the weekly RSI. RSI is not looking good in itself because, again, you have broken out of this very positive structure. You've broken out of that, and certainly you've broken out of that, and that's not a good look. You're getting the aftermath of that. You had a parabolic maneuver, broke out of it. You know, that's not normally a good look. Normally when you do break out of a parabolic structure, you see some violent repercussions. But it's getting more violent. It's happening right now. You could be at the end of it or near the end of it right now. Time will tell. If you look at the low, the cycle low to the relative high of this cycle, you're down at your 0.5, which is not the most conventional area to find support. Generally, I would call for the 382 area or the 61869 area. And with that, $9 probably wouldn't stop us. It would probably be like $7 to 560 that stops us, but I just don't see us dropping that much with the thought that that LTC probably doesn't move down too much lower either, right? It's down 5% this week. I don't see it breaking out of this consolidation phase that it's been in, right, since the end of its bear cycle. I don't see it breaking out of this to the downside. I do see it breaking out to the upside. So I just have a hard time seeing LTCN divert too much more, right? We're talking about prices over the last 2 weeks, right? This week and last week. It's down 35% from its high. LTCN last week, I mean, even the week before, right? It's already down 58% overall. Like, that's just insane, right? 58% versus 35% doesn't sound that insane. But if you look at it for what it is from a high point here, 35% is actually this, right? Because negatives, they kind of compound. 35%, as crazy as it is, you look at the chart, it's basically half this move, right? 35% right there. 58%. Mathematically, no, it's not that far away, but it is actually also mathematically, it is kind of a big difference. Again, on the negatives, it's a bigger difference than on the positives. When you get to 58%, when you get to 50%, things start to get harder to achieve, right? 58% there to go to 68%, you're going all the way down here. Like, it's so much further away. I don't know if that makes sense, right? And you haven't even doubled this one yet, but you've over doubled the move. 68% mathematically is not double 35%, that's 70%. But already it's like dramatically larger. I don't know if that makes sense. So all I'm trying to say by that is LTCN moving down a lot more than LTC. That can only sustain itself for so long. They're not perfectly correlated. They don't ride in tandem together, but if LTC is moving up, LTCN is going to move up too. It's inevitable, right? LTC being at some of the lowest prices it's seen since before August of 2023, it's no wonder that you're literally at these low points here from the beginning of the year. But it's kind of crazy, right? You achieved lower prices in LTC, okay? You achieved lower prices than you saw here in September of 2023, August of 2023, whatever, prices that you haven't seen since November of 2022, yet LTCN has held its lows from January of this year, right? It hasn't seen those bear market things. So yes, it's much more intense, but overall it actually, in a certain sense, is holding up better than LTC. I don't know. There's ways to go about it, saying that it is and it isn't. It still has its higher lows, right? It still has its higher lows, which looks nice. Looking at the daily RSI looks like trash. I'm beating around the bush so hard, guys, because I'm alluding to the real question, which everybody's probably wondering, which is, has it found its low? I don't care. I don't care about any of this stuff. Is it going lower? Has it found its low? Is it time to get in? Yes, no, maybe. Who knows? It could. It could move down to prices just below $10 at $9.93. It could move down to $8.60 or around $9, like that one person was mentioning the other week, right? This is our kind of previous low area down here. But will it is the question, right? That's really the question. And I'm not certain on that. This could be the low. It absolutely could be the low. I'm sorry. I think I smell something burning. I need to make sure. I'm getting distracted. I'll be right back. Nope, nothing's burning. But anyways, let's see. Given LTC's current looks, I would just feel the most comfortable saying if it doesn't find support here or around here, it could go a little bit below 10 bucks and that'd be okay. But if it doesn't hold that $10 zone or its current low, then likely you're not going to stop at 9 bucks. You'll probably go all the way down to $7, which would be crazy. But it could happen. If you look at this for what it is, right, this is kind of your consolidation zone. When you broke out of it, it was here, right? So coming back to find support on the area that you broke out of, previous areas of resistance here, previous areas of resistance here, broke out of it here. It's not uncommon, and it happens to line up with your 618 area as well. So hopefully you do find support here. Hopefully you do start moving up higher. Weekly RSI looks like trash. Daily RSI is no better. It's actually worse. So your only real hope here, your only kind of silver lining for LTCN is that LTC doesn't look like it's going to move lower. And I would assume if LTC is going to move higher, right, if it's about to see, and it probably is, when I say about to, I mean over the weeks and over the months, it's about to move up above this high here. If it's about to see prices that are higher than it was on April 1st of this year, then I would only assume that LTCN probably sees prices that are around the same areas, right, maybe. April 1st, that was this month right here, this week right here, literally at the top of LTCN, 90% away for LTC, 398% away for LTCN. I don't know, man. I can't help but feel like LTCN is at a what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of analogy. It's like if LTCN is growing too much in comparison to LTC, it's going to have a pullback. You're expecting that, right? You would expect that if the premium's growing at a rate that's like larger than LTC is growing, right, the native asset's growing. If LTCN's growing at a faster rate, you would expect that to slow down, and not only slow down, but there to be some kind of more significant correction in response to that. I feel like that's happening right now, but to the opposite effect, right? We're dropping more than the underlying asset, not by a little bit, by a lot, right? The snap back from that, that's kind of the most bullish thing that I'm anticipating right now. I think that you will get a nice snapback from that, and I think, sometimes it's right after you drop off a cliff that you find your low. Right after you dropped off that cliff, that's when you found your low. Here, you had a very big week. It doesn't look that big, but if you measure it for what it's worth, from a high point here to a low point here, in 1 week you dropped 22.82%. Very big wick on that week as well. It's when you fell off a cliff that you found your low, right? So maybe the secret lies with the underlying asset, but again, I wouldn't be too discouraged. I wouldn't be too upset if LTCN moves a little bit below $10. It's when you start closing multiple days, closing a week below $10 or like below like $9.90. That's when I would be concerned that you're moving down to $7. But time will tell. We'll see how it goes. I'm under the impression right now that you are either at your low or very close to your low. I do feel pretty confident in saying that, but yeah, you guys know how it can go, man. It can go lower. Absolutely it can. So time will tell. We'll see how it goes. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.